On the night before Thanksgiving, November 24th, 1971, a man boarded a plane in Portland, Oregon. He carried a briefcase. He was polite, calm, even forgettable. But hours later, he would vanish into a stormy sky with $200,000 in cash, never to be seen again. His name, D.B. Cooper. And his story remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American history. Flight 305 of Northwest Orient Airlines was a routine 30-minute trip from Portland to Seattle. Among the 36 passengers, one stood out only because he wore a dark suit, a thin black tie, and sunglasses indoors. He purchased his ticket under the name Dan Cooper. But thanks to a journalist's mistake, history would forever remember him as D.B. Cooper. He appeared like any other businessman of the era. He ordered a bourbon and soda, smoked his cigarette, and blended into the cabin. No one could have guessed the storm about to unfold. Shortly after takeoff, Cooper quietly handed a note to flight attendant Florence Schaffner. Believing it to be a man's phone number, she slipped it unopened into her pocket. Cooper leaned toward her and whispered, "Miss, you'd better look at that note. I have a bomb." Inside his briefcase, he revealed a tangle of wires and red cylinders. He wasn't bluffing. Cooper then dictated his demands: $200,000 in unmarked bills, 4 parachutes, and a fuel truck ready when they landed in Seattle. His voice remained calm, almost polite, as though this were a business transaction. As the plane circled Seattle for nearly 2 hours, officials scrambled to gather the ransom money and parachutes. On board, passengers had no idea their plane was being hijacked. Cooper kept his cool. He ordered another drink, tipped generously, and even paid his bar tab. When the aircraft finally landed, Cooper allowed all 36 passengers to disembark unharmed in exchange for the cash and parachutes. But he refused to leave the plane. Instead, he instructed the crew to prepare for a second flight, this time to Mexico. After refueling, Flight 305 took off again with only Cooper, the pilots, and 2 flight attendants on board. Cooper demanded a low altitude of 10,000 feet, with the rear stairs lowered. Somewhere over the forests of Washington, in the middle of a rainstorm, he put on a parachute, strapped the ransom cash to his body, and opened the rear stairs. At approximately 8:13 p.m., the crew felt a sudden shift in pressure. Cooper had jumped, disappearing into the black sky. The moment the plane landed in Reno, Nevada, the FBI began what would become the most extensive manhunt in its history. Search teams scoured the rugged terrain of Washington state, combing through forests, rivers, and mountains. But there was no trace of Cooper, not his body, not his parachute, not even the briefcase. For years, the FBI interviewed hundreds of suspects: military paratroopers, criminals, and even airline employees. Composite sketches were released nationwide. Yet the man seemed to vanish from existence. In 1980, nearly a decade after the hijacking, a young boy camping along the Columbia River found rotting bundles of $20 bills buried in the sand. The serial numbers matched the ransom money given to Cooper. But instead of solving the mystery, this discovery raised even more questions. How did the money end up miles from the suspected jump zone? Did Cooper survive or perish in the wilderness? Some investigators believe he died during the jump. The storm, freezing winds, and rough terrain made survival unlikely. Others insist he was a skilled paratrooper who executed a daring escape and disappeared into obscurity. Over the years, countless suspects emerged, from ex-soldiers to career criminals. Some even confessed, but none could be proven. After decades of investigation, the FBI officially closed the case in 2016, citing lack of credible leads. D.B. Cooper's true identity remains unknown. Was he a desperate man seeking fortune, or a brilliant criminal who outsmarted the FBI? To this day, Cooper remains the only person in U.S. history to successfully hijack a commercial airplane and escape. Nearly 50 years later, D.B. Cooper has become a legend. Books, documentaries, and theories continue to keep his story alive. He is a symbol of mystery, rebellion, and the unknown. But the question still lingers. Did D.B. Cooper survive that night? Or did he vanish forever into the storm?